Welcome to the Black Girls Heal podcast, where we talk about changing unavailable relationship patterns, healing unresolved trauma, and building a healthy relationship with first you and then others. Every episode, we will talk about actionable advice that you can apply today to break unhealthy patterns and grow your self-worth. I'm Sheena Tubbs. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Black Girls Heal podcast. I'm so happy to be with you this week. So this week I have something special in store for you all. Around the end of last year, I believe, I didn't go and look in the archives, but I'm pretty sure it was near the end. I tried something a little different. And I invited people who were listeners to come on and for me to answer questions. And so I shared with you one of the interviews, and I decided afterwards that I wanted to actually use the women who were already benefiting from the program. So I've actually been asked many times before if I offer coaching just as single sessions. And I have every once in a while, but I tend to not want to do so because it is really, really hard for me to coach women as a one-off because I feel like I'm just helping women put out fires. I have a lot of great tools that I've made specifically to help women heal from love addiction, love avoidance, and love anorexia, to help them be self-healers from their trauma and actually make movement. A lot of great insight that is wrapped up inside of how those tools are implemented. And so even if I'm giving really good advice or next steps, it's still incomplete. And I didn't really like how that felt. And so I was like, let me just use calls from the women that I'm already serving. So I have asked some of the women who I'm already working with via Black Girls Heal if they would like to be interviewed, and several of them volunteered. And so I was really excited about that. And so what you are going to hear on this podcast is an actual coaching call. So for those of you who don't know, the way that I help women here on Black Girls Heal, in case you're the first or your first time listener, is I have what is now an online coaching school, but I used to just offer courses one-off. And I was thinking today when I was prepping for this podcast episode, I was like, I talk a lot about courses, but there's probably a whole group of women who have no idea what that means, of course, and it sounds very foreign to you. So me as an entrepreneur, I was actually initiated into this world of online learning because I bought a course by someone named Amy Porterfield years ago that helped me learn how to do webinars, which you might know as recorded classes and workshops that people will have you put in your email address, and then you'll watch them teach you something at a designated time. So that's also called a webinar. And so once I did that, and once I saw, oh, wow, like I can actually learn things from someone who's not teaching me face to face. This is really convenient. I can do it on my own time. I can watch replays. There's this group that I can answer all these questions in, and not only does the teacher answer my questions, but there's all these people who've gone there before me, who are really experienced, they're really helpful. This is like a really positive place. I was like, oh, okay, great. And so I started buying courses, not just for business stuff, but for my own personal development. And of course, I was very discriminate because, like many of us, sometimes it's easier to buy things that have nothing to do with our self-healing and our own inner health, but we'll do things for other people sometimes, or things that are us adjacent. So like my business is adjacent to me. It totally affects me, but is it really for me, just for my own improvement and just for my own self-love and just for my own healing? Not necessarily, or actually not really. I'm just trying to be moderate, but no, not really. And so, but that was kind of like my gateway into buying other courses that were really just for me and my mindset and did nothing else but other than just made me feel better. And so, all that to say, if you've never had that experience of you buying an online course, and if you're someone who is kind of like me, where if I don't understand it, if I can't really put my mind around it, then it's not really for me, then I totally get that. Especially because so many of us are just coming around to the fact of learning how to ask for help and going to therapy and letting that be a normal part of our vocabulary and a part of what we expect from others and what we expect from ourselves. Then to talk about doing this online via an online course, it sounds maybe even ridiculous to some people. But, y'all, but it actually works. So I have I've made a lot of courses over the last couple of years. I've made about 5 bigger ones, and I've had maybe about 12 to 15, maybe close to 20. I haven't added it up, so that number could either be very accurate or off, give or take about 2 or 3 courses. But I've made a lot of them, and I've had really helped women get really great results and really great healing by doing these courses. And so I am a believer. And one of the ways that I've helped women heal online via courses is by offering coaching as a part of it. And so the main way that I usually offer coaching, not in every course that I've done, but in most of the courses that I've done, is by having something called group calls. And so a group calls, this is where a group of people, a group of my students who are able to come and attend will ask questions related to their learning and their experience in the course. And when it comes to healing love addiction, love avoidance, love anorexia, and healing from trauma, from relational trauma, it is imperative to heal in relationships. Doing a solo dolo journey when it comes to healing. If you had trauma that came from relationships, healing without mending and creating intimate connections with other people is really incomplete, y'all. You really have to learn how to build that bridge and build healthy attachment with other people and be vulnerable and be seen in groups. It's just part of the process. And I can't really save that from you. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to get very adept at learning how to be safe just when it's you around. But then when there's other people around, that's when you will clam up. That's where it will be very hard for you to show both your scars and your beauty marks as well. This is where it gets really hard for you to trust people, or you put them through impossible tasks to earn your trust, and even then it's not really enough. So group and community is an integral part of my programs. And so women who decide to come to these group coaching calls, and they ask all their questions and they get coached, and it's really incredible. It's really amazing. And a lot of the times students stay past the time that their questions are answered, or they come early to listen to other people's questions get answered, because it truly is what one person is going through is what multiple people are going through. And hearing one person and how they're arriving at their solutions, or hearing the solutions that I'm helping give to them, is usually a message just for that person as well. So just like you might say, if you come from a Christian background, if you go to church, one message could speak to a whole congregation, right? So that kind of feel. Or a motivational speaker, or whatever it is. It's something that is applicable to everybody. So everyone kind of gets multiple questions answered in one setting. So with all that said, today's episode is going to be you getting a peek into what these coaching calls actually sound like. So again, This kind of has the same idea as the previous episode where I had a listener on the program, but it's going to be a lot more complete. When I interviewed that student before, it was when one of our programs was just coming out, and I was like, oh my God, like this is exactly what I want to give you. Like you hear me talking about it, I was like, here's the tool that I want to give you, but I can't because it's in the program and I have to, it's like a whole explanation. But here, all the women that have been supporting have already been equipped. And so something else you're going to hear that's really great is you'll hear me referencing some of the things that we have talked about before, because I really do get to know all of the women in our program or in my programs as long as they show up. Like if you show up and you share what's going on with you, then I'm going to get to know you. And if you're honest about what you're going through, if you're consistent with what's happening with you, then I meet people exactly where they are. I even try to bring them a little bit further and reach out and initiate contact with my students because it's important that you actually get your healing. So you're going to hear that we know each other. Even with it being online, that we know each other very well, and that she is part of our healing tribe. You are going to hear the way that I like to coach women, which is a balance between validating what you're going through, holding space for you, asking if something works for you or not, because it is not my job to push an agenda that does not work for you. And also referring back to the skills and the tools that are taught whenever they are appropriate. Some of the specific skills that I teach in the program have been blurred out. So if audio drops, that is why. It's only going to be for a split second, but just I've taken that out. But I'm really excited for you to hear this interview because I know that the topic is going to be so helpful for a lot of you. So the question that I'm coaching this student through is how to show up as her full self after she has gone through trauma growing up. And so the specific type of trauma is intellectual trauma. And so if you do not know what intellectual trauma is, this is whenever you have a parent or a caregiver who challenges what you say and what you think, acting as if your opinions don't matter, what you say doesn't make sense, that you're stupid, that their opinions and their thoughts are the most important. And this is a type of trauma because it challenges your intellect, how you feel about yourself. This is where a lot of us can end up wanting to or needing to have validation from other people for us to feel permission to have our own thoughts. We may feel something intuitively, but we need other people to co-sign on it or to tell us that it makes sense. All these are definite results of intellectual trauma that don't really go away no matter how many times people tell us, you're great, you're smart, that makes sense, that's powerful, that's true, until we learn how to heal that on the inside. And so I'm working through that with this student here on this call. And so you will get a lot of next steps that you can bring with you. And because I realized that I still haven't mentioned what this coaching program is, it's the Recovery School. And so you're going to hear this student mention Learn to Thrive. When she joined the program, I was only offering Learn to Thrive as our main signature program. What I am doing now is every single thing that you have ever heard me talk about is going to be in one place for you to pick and choose what you want to heal and what you want to work on. And I'm calling it my Netflix of healing. A healing smorgasbord, if you will, a little buffet of healing, if you will. And you just pick and choose what you want to put on your plate, a little a la carte of sexual intimacy here, or a little bit of how to be in a healthy couple here, or how do I stop dating bums over here, whatever it might be. You just mix it all together. And you get coaching on how to keep all that straight and to create a actual recovery plan. And so, Learn to Thrive is still going to be the core program that I ask every single student to go through and finish, because that's how it was created in the first place. It is the curriculum that I feel every person who's ever struggled with the intimacy disorder needs to experience, for you to get some breakthroughs and do it as a whole. So, if you would like to learn more about the Recovery School, you can go to blackgirlsheal.org/school, and it will take you directly there. But I'll also share more about how to get there at the end of this interview as well. So that is it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, so I have my student Concy with me. Hey, Concy.
Hi.
Hey, I am so excited to chat with you and for us to do this coaching call together. It's going to be great. It's going to be great because they're always great. So I'm just excited. Yeah, because you're wonderful. It's easy. So Concy has been our student, or my student, since last year. She's been doing so awesome. But before we get into all of that, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so right now I'm in physical therapy school and I'm going to graduate in May. I love nature and I'm a former dancer, ballerina. It's my minor in college. I don't know, that's a little bit.
Yeah, yes, and you're as beautiful on the inside as you're on the outside. And so I'm I'm so happy that you are connecting all that. So don't want to speak too much for you, but can you tell us a little bit of why you became a student of the Learn to Thrive program?
So for me, the biggest thing was just not having confidence in, like, every time I went somewhere, people would notice. They would say, "Oh, you're so pretty," and then as soon as I opened my mouth, it was, "Oh, you're not confident. What's going on?" And that was one of the biggest things. And learning how to have self-love for myself, which is something I'm still growing with. And then also, you specialize in the love addiction, so that was another big thing for me, because not having the confidence would cause me to just go to guys who would show me a little bit of love, even if it was for just a moment. So that's, I don't know.
Awesome, yeah. And so how did you discover Learn to Thrive, or me?
So actually it was through the podcast Black Girls Heal. My last rotation was like an hour away from my house, and I had to drive there for 10 weeks. And I was like, I want something that's going to help me to grow as an individual. So I just started listening, and I heard about the program, and so I joined.
Yay, yay. And so with that, what are you getting out of Learn to Thrive?
So recently I have discovered a lot of my trauma that's been hidden, I guess, from childhood, and even like stuff that's happened recently. That's one big thing. And then just with the love addiction, that has gotten a lot better as well, because I've started the 90-day no contact. And that's been going really great. It wasn't at first, but now it's on a pretty steady path.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you had some extra help before with therapy. How would you say that this program compares to the other support that you've also gotten?
Um, I don't know. I guess for me, like, when I had therapy before, it just seemed like it was just a conversation, and like that was it. And I was just kind of out the door. It didn't really do anything for me. I feel bad saying that. But with this, like, I get, like, it's almost like a curriculum, or it is like I get work to do that allows me to dive deeper and think deeper on my own. And then I get a group of women as well who are just really here to support me, which is also great. Or at least for me, it's great. Yeah, and I'm just kind of growing and thriving in that, and I don't know, makes me happy.
And what I love about you in the program is, and I can say this about all the women, but I'm talking to you especially right now, is that you have shown up and like really allowed yourself to be vulnerable and help yourself get what you need. And I think it's so amazing because so much of, I think a lot of our trauma is fear of asking for what we want and not wanting to like um, be too big or too loud, or even that fear, like what if I ask for help and I get the same things I've always gotten, or nothing moves at all. And you just
Mhm.
let yourself be there. And so I'm just really proud of you.
Thanks. It's a safe place. I think that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, awesome. That's great to hear. And so one more question about the course before we move on. What would you say is your favorite part of the program?
Mm, well, all of it's great. Okay, this sounds really crazy. I'm going to speak for my present self, but then I'm going to speak for my future self, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
My present self is I love the whole 90-day no contact love addiction, because I don't know, I just discovered so much about myself, and that I need to be alone in order to just understand who I am and what I actually want, um, like in a future husband. But I think future self, as the more that I'm discovering myself, the more I want to know about myself and get rid of my trauma and become a more confident person. So future self loves that part, and past or present self loves the love addiction part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love both of those answers because you're basically talking about healing you, and then the relationship is like an output of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our call. So we do this every week as part of our group coaching calls. We have a chance to just sit and chat about what's going on, and so we're just going to kind of update with where we are. But you have the opportunity to talk about something different than what we've been talking about, or something that's the same. So, what would you say the areas that you're struggling with the most right now?
Um, right now it's just I just have this desire just to be like this confident woman who has this self-love. Like, I don't know if I'm sure it makes sense, but you see the girl who walks in the room, and it's just like she knows that she has it together, and she's just confident in herself, and I really want to be that person. And it just comes and goes. Like, if I don't know, feel, I guess, insecure, which is a lot, it just automatically goes down. And I don't want to have that feeling. I want to continuously be, I don't know, confident and assertive within myself.
Mm-hmm. So, when are the times that you notice that you feel the most insecure, or
Um,
that the insecurity pops up?
School is a big one, like a
Okay.
really big one.
Mm-hmm.
um, just because I feel really inadequate, or I feel like I don't know enough. Like, I don't really know anything to actually raise my hand and say, hey, I can answer this question. And then if I'm like out with, I guess, a group of people, and I don't know, I just kind of tend to kind of go back and not say as much, because I'm like, okay, their personalities are bigger and I know that they shine. So I'm going to let them do that. And I'm just going to kind of relax and be here. But really, it's just more of an insecurity, I guess.
Okay. So, with the groups of people, um, would you say that you're someone who's more extroverted or introverted, or do you not know?
Okay. I am, it depends on the group of people. If I feel comfortable with those people, then I can be an extrovert. But if I don't, I'm very much an introvert, and I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. So When I think about extrovert and introvert, I think of like the literal definition of it, which is where an extrovert really loves to be around people, like they get their energy off talking and engaging, and that's what makes them feel safe and happy. Where an introvert is someone where they feel more energized, like being within themselves, being kind of able to kind of think and observe sometimes when they can. So I'm wondering for you, do you feel happiest when you're around other people, or do you feel happiest when you're not around them?
Yeah, I feel happier, I guess, when I'm around people.
Okay.
But I'm also learning at the same time, like being alone is okay. And I'm starting to become comfortable with that. Because there are times where I'm just like, I want to be by myself. But
Okay.
I think I just have more fun with other people. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. And I'm thinking about previous conversations where we talked about you learning how to be by yourself because part of your history is that you would self-medicate by always being out there with other folks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
busy to distract yourself from the chatter and the noise that was going on inside of you.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked about extrovert, introvert when you're around these other people is I'm trying to kind of get a gauge on who is the person that you actually want to be, not who you think you should be. So when all these people are being like gregarious and telling jokes and stuff, is that urge that you feel to say something because you feel like you need to like keep up with them? Or is it because you actually feel like it's a part of you that like it's just hard for you to let be seen? So again, the first one is more like you feel like you should be talking and that's why you want to say something. But if you could just not say anything, you would be perfectly fine.
No, there's actual desire to actually, like, I want to talk, like, I want to say something, but it's more of a fear to actually do it.
Okay.
I guess I fear I'm going to get judged for what I say
Mm-hmm.
or how I may say it or like how people will look at me. I don't know. Like, there's just this fear behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it around all groups of people that you hang out with or just a few of them?
Mm, I would say majority.
Okay.
There's like a group of girls that I hang out with, like where I am for grad school, that I'm comfortable with. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have a best friend back home. Like I'm comfortable with her. Other than that, the fear is there.
Okay. So with people who are strangers, is when you feel this way?
Yes.
Okay. And strangers in your academic group or what kind of strangers?
I mean, it could be like if I'm out with I guess one of my friends and they bring like a group of people with them. Like I'm not going to talk because I don't know. I don't feel comfortable. Like it's not a safe place anymore, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you thought about what might make you feel safer when you're around these groups of people?
Mm, well, I don't know. I feel like they know me. So if they know me, then there's no judgment. It's
Mm.
just a free kind of area.
Yeah, but that's with the people that you know, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking with people who are like the new additions to the group, or the
Mm-hmm.
people who are they're strangers to you, known to your friends, but strangers to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes part of what is helpful is not skipping to the place where like I should just feel comfortable expressing myself and I should just feel comfortable saying whatever I want to say, but to get in touch with whatever that roadblock is and to honor it. So if the roadblock with you speaking is that you don't feel safe because you need to know that someone is trustworthy, because you need to know that they're going to listen to you, because you need to know that they're not going to judge you based on your skin color or whatever else, that's an okay thing to validate. So if there's a group of 4 or 5 people, instead of
Mm-hmm.
like wanting to say, okay, I need to be able to say whatever I want to say in front of all these eyes, maybe you just focus on talking with that one person to the side and get comfortable with them And then once you're comfortable with them, because you already know the other three people, then maybe you'll feel more comfortable talking out
Okay.
loud.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that sound like that's doable?
Yes, I can do that.
You can do that. Okay. So it really was, it's kind of like almost like public speaking. Whenever it's more than one person, that's when it's harder for you. But when it's a one-off situation, you're more comfortable.
Yes, very much
Okay.
so.
Okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, try that with the next time you're in a group and kind of make that your anchor. So say it's like a big group, like maybe it's like a big group outing of like 10, 12 people, and you have like maybe 2 or 3 friends there, but there's a whole lot of other people you don't know. Maybe instead of trying to get to know 8 people in one night, maybe just start with that one person, and that might help you feel like, oh, okay, I can talk with people, and it kind of may lose that fear that these other 7 people are going to reject me. I know that's not going to happen because I know I can show up as my full self with this one person.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about that?
I'm just trying to relate that just back to physical therapy school,
Okay.
because like I have like a few people that I can relate to, but still it's like, I mean, you have to do presentations and you have to work in different groups, and when that happens, I just automatically just shut down. Like I just feel inadequate again.
When you before you make the presentation or after you make the presentation?
Like before, or more specifically when we're working like in groups, or if we're answering questions in class type of thing.
Okay, so not when you're talking in front of folks, it's more when you're working in groups?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are your thoughts when it's happening in the group?
Like when I'm in the group, I just shut down. I guess my thoughts are, don't answer the question. You don't know like what the answer is, or like what I say I should have known a long time ago, and why don't I know this now? And I don't want to be looked at as stupid, so let me not say anything. Which I don't know, it seems really childish, and it's something that like people should get over, or I should like I guess that's what people told me. That's something that you should have got over in high school or middle school. Like you should be okay with, just saying whatever you have to say. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah,
They're kind
no,
of in the
no, that makes sense. I'm gonna filter what I want to say because I know you love the Lord, but bump what all this other people said about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Um, that's ridiculous. There, so here's a phrase I want you to remember. Whenever you feel like you're about to start coming down on yourself, the phrase goes, "Don't should on yourself," because when we should on ourselves, we're constantly shaming ourselves and condemning ourselves and trying to put ourselves in these boxes that literally are not built on anything other than other people's projections or other people's pain or other people's timelines that are also not built on anything. The only thing that matters is what you think and what you feel, and that you're honoring what you need in the moment. Okay. So we've talked about when we talked about like self-compassion and working through our trauma, how all the things that we are dealing with now is all because it all makes sense. Like there's no insecurity, there's no coping mechanism, there's nothing unhealthy or addictive that we're doing now that just came out of nowhere. There's always something that connects to it, right? And so whenever we're like, I'm just doing this and I just feel crazy, you're not crazy because let's say you were an overeater. That's not part of your coping pattern. I don't think, but like maybe you overate because food was used as a reward growing up, and your parents would take it away and give it to you, and so now you feel more in control when you eat more. Like it all makes sense, right? And so for you, we talked about the intellectual trauma. We talked about
people shaming you before and not listening to what you have to say. And so the fact that you shut down and it feels unsafe to you makes complete sense. You've also had people who have treated you as if the only thing that has been positive about you, or the most positive thing about you, is your beauty and your looks. And no one's really, no one of significance to you thus far, at least that you've been able to receive, has been able to appreciate you for all of you. And the people who have, it's hard for you to believe it. And even then, that makes sense. So when you come into this circle that is based on academics, something that you've been wanting people to acknowledge and see and value about you for a long time, but no one has, it makes sense that this is new territory for you. And it's hard for you to feel like you belong, even though you do. Does that make sense?
Yes. That was a lot to take in. I mean, not in a bad way, just like, wow, that really makes sense. And it lines up, and I'm just still processing it. It was good. It's really good.
Okay. Tell me, we'll just take a beat here then, and just tell me what parts still kind of stick out to you, or maybe what parts hit home the most.
I guess when you were talking about the intellectual trauma of, I don't know, for me, it was like when I was younger, my mother not really allowing me to express myself, even if it was just clothes, or her like taking over my conversation and like speaking for me. And then like that just getting worse, like as I got older, like with relationships as well, even with friendships. Like my friends are like, they constantly say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I just don't say anything. As I got older, I've gotten better friends, and they make me decide on things and choose things, because they were like, you have a voice, you should use it. But I don't know, that just really, it's sitting and processing.
Yeah. And so with you even explaining with your story, like you said, as you got older, it got worse. You know, so with some traumas, sometimes as you get older, it's supposed to get easier, you know, because you're bigger now, you can leave the room, you can change the environment, you can move out, that kind of stuff. But for you, it's like on all sides. So your body, your mind, your spirit has learned subconsciously, tuned into kind of your nervous system that we talked about before, that anytime you're about to step out and say a little bit about what you think, to expect punishment, to expect consequence, to expect rejection or abandonment. So even you like forming the thoughts in your mind, your brain is like, nope, no, don't do that, don't go there. Right?
Yeah, exactly, actually.
Yeah. And so if I were to tell you, Consieta, just believe in yourself more, or you know, just love yourself, just know that you're smart enough and go out and do that. That's not going to help you, because this stuff is like deep down, right? So we have our tools that we've talked about to help you get to those roots and clear them out. So we talked about grounding statements. Have you done that at all?
To be honest, no. I'm being honest. But I've been praying, and I did do a little bit. Again, I don't know why I'm so avoidant towards that, like with the trauma. But I did on the fact that I am avoiding it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and what came out there?
I mean, I felt better. I felt more calm. I felt more relaxed. And I probably should have kept going and started like truly on the trauma and the issues, or the grounding statements. But I didn't.
Okay. And do you feel guilty about that right now, or are you just telling me?
No, I actually feel guilty about it, because I feel like, I don't know, for me, it's like once I decide to do something, or at least when it came to Learn to Thrive and like the 90 days, like once I decide to do it, it's done, it's going to happen. So I feel like that's time that's wasted that I could have had to like grow and like go get past this point that I'm at now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you, and I respectfully disagree because this is just part of the process. So that was part of one of the first things that we talked about in the program, as far as like the things that will come up as we start to work on ourselves. And one of the things is kind of the avoidance, right? Because change is uncomfortable even when we are miserable, even when we want things to change really bad. So it makes sense that you're still avoiding it because it's scary. You don't know what's going to come up. You don't know if it's going to work. It seems too big. It seems like it may not move the needle at all. You don't want to get disappointed. It's easier just to lay down. Yes?
Yes. Like even right now talking about it, like my heart just feels heavy. If that makes sense. Like I don't know. It's this feeling.
Yeah.
Like when I get nervous, my heart is like just like really heavy.
Yeah. So I talked earlier about how we not wanting to skip. So here is I don't want to, or it's uncomfortable for me to, and this is I feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
For you in your mind, you think it's right here. So you're like, this is obviously the next step. Why can't I just? But what I'm telling you is that there's multiple things in between that's stopping you from getting here. And that's okay. And it really is learning how to take you at every piece, at every step that you are, instead of trying to force yourself to be several levels ahead, right? Because then that invites more shame and guilt, right?
Yes. Okay.
I was just saying, how does that sound to you?
It sounds good. I'm
But
still it sounds good. I'm just still having like a little mini panic attack. Like my heart just still feels heavy and I'm just like, why? I don't even understand. But you just explained why.
okay, let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Okay.
So at this part of the call is where I actually coached Concy through one of the skills that I teach in the program. And so you are about to hear how it ended up.
Great. But how was that right there?
It went down to like I was at like 100 and I'm at like 50, maybe 45%, like a little anxious.
This stuff works.
It does. It really does.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you can use this tool right before you go into the your what do you call it? Your class. You know, if you know that it's about to be group work and you're having thoughts about like what if you say the wrong thing and they're gonna ask me this question, then use that tool there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So do that, and then when we go back into group, we can do the grounding statements, and I can kind of walk you through that. How do you feel about that first issue, about feeling more confident with school and with the social groups?
Better.
Better.
And then again, like you said, with a group of people, just talk to one person and then just kind of go from there. So that works.
Yeah, yay, awesome. And then come back to group whenever, yes, whenever, I'm not gonna say if ever, whenever you try to talk to one person, if any of that social anxiety or any of that stuff comes up, then we can like talk you through like how to like work through that and show up as your full self.
Okay. That'll be perfect.
Yes, okay.
So there you have it. That is what it sounds like on a group call. So we have group calls every week in the recovery school. And every student who submits a question is able to get it answered. And every student is able to submit at least two. So Constance actually asked two questions that you didn't get to hear the second one. I only played the first one for the purpose of this podcast episode. But, you know, when I tell people who've been interested in doing the courses before have been like, well, I really want one-on-one time. And I try to tell them, look, this really is, you're not missing out on any kind of contact just because there is not necessarily a private call included, unless you wanted to upgrade and get one. But you're still getting personalized attention. And people don't believe me. But then hopefully this helps give those of you who have been kind of on the fence kind of that push over so that you can actually choose to join into the wonder that is Black Girls Hill Programming, which is now the Recovery School. So again, you can learn more by going to blackgirlshill.org/school. Every person that is ready to learn more, there is a little new members orientation for you to participate in, for you to get your invitation into joining the school. And that's about it. So I look forward to welcoming our new students who will be joining us. I look forward to sharing your breakthroughs. I look forward to featuring some of you here on this podcast as well after you've gotten your big wins. Within the first week or two, my students who are active and do the program actually are reporting their first big wins and transformations and just seeing things so much clearer and feeling some relief. And it stays. And it stays because they stay. It stays because they are showing up for themselves. And it stays because they have a community of women who are always supportive and available. So I want y'all to be a part of the magic. I would love for you to tag me on Instagram if this podcast episode has been helpful for you. You can tag me at blackgirlshill_. And you can also join the conversation that we are having in the Black Girls Hill Facebook group. So you can go to blackgirlshill.org/group and join our Facebook group and participate in some of the guided questions and conversation topics over there. So that is it for now. I will see you next week. Take care of yourselves.